Hi, I'm Wanda from Melinda Craft and this is our Quilting Blocks channel, and today we're going to show you how to make this variation on an hourglass block. So let's get started. So you're going to need 2 squares of fabric in contrasting colours, and they need to measure 6 inches square. You're also going to need 2 strips of fabric, also contrasting, and they need to be 3 inches wide by 12¼ inches long. And you want those two pieces to be the same material. So we're going to start by creating our corner blocks here with the blue and the white fabric. So what we need to do is we come down here and we take our 2 strips of fabric, place one on top of the other, and I'll go and sew that down here with a 1/4 inch seam. Okay, so I've sewn that together and I've pressed the seam to the dark side, as you can see here. Right, so now we're going to cut this into 3-inch squares. So let's turn it to the right side. Let's line up my ruler. Okay, so I made it a little bit longer, the strip, but that was because sometimes it tends to creep when you sew it, so it just gives you a little bit of room at the end so that you're not struggling to make things balanced. Okay, so there we are. So now we have our, and it's just a matter of doing that, turning one around. So what I'll do now is I'll go and I'll sew those over there. Now you can see, because of the way I press the seam, that's going to nest in quite nicely, so that when I sew it, those seams will line up beautifully. And then I'll do the same with that one. And that will give us our 2 corner blocks. So we finished our 2 squares, our 2 corner squares, and this time we've opened the seam flat, as you can see here. So we can just put those aside for now, and we'll get on to making our half square triangles. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar with making half square triangles, we do have a tutorial on this as well, but I'll quickly go through it with you. So we put the right sides of our 6-inch square blocks together, and then we're just going to draw a line from point to point. Let's get my glasses so I can see what I'm doing. Okay. And what we'll do is we're going to sew 1/4 inch from this line on either side. I'll just go over that in a moment. So we've got a line that runs down here, and we're going to sew 1/4 inch that side and 1/4 inch this side, and then we'll just cut through on our drawn line. So as you can see, I've sewn 1/4 inch down either side of that line, and now I'm just going to slice it down here. So we slice actually on the line, from point to point, and that's going to give us our 2 half square triangles. So just open them up just to show you quickly. There we go. So now I'm just going to press them. So what we're going to do is we're going to press the seam on the dark side of the fabric. So just give it it's just to set the seam. And we just open it here and give it a press. Just press it open. Like my little presser mat, isn't it cute? Okay, now once we've pressed our block open, we need to trim it. Now to trim our half square triangles, what we do is we take our square ruler and we lay the 45-degree angle along the seam line. Now we make sure we've got a little bit excess here around the 5½ inch mark, because we're trimming this to 5½ inches. So just make sure that's all lined up. Okay, and you can see my excess. So there won't be a lot to trim off on this first cut. So here we go. Along here. Now if you're not sure on how to do this, we have a detailed tutorial on how to square up your half square triangles, and we'll put the link below in the description. Okay, now so once I've done one side, I turn it right round, and now I'm going to line up the 45-degree angle again on the seam line, but this time I'm going to make sure that the 5½ inch line is exactly on the edge. Okay, so that's my square, my 5½ inch square. And I'm now going to trim up this side. And that's all there is to it. So now we have everything trimmed nicely. What we need to do is to put our squares into position. So we have one here, and we turn this one around so that the green is on the outside. There we go, simple. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to just pop that on top of there, sew it down there with a 1/4 inch seam, and I'll do the same with this one here. Okay, so I've done that, and now I'm going to lay the top block over the bottom block and sew along there with a 1/4 inch seam, and then our block will be finished. So there you go, it's all done. And just remember that your points will be formed when you sew your next block on, or your piece of sashing, whatever it is you're going to do. Now we'll have some variations on the website on how this quilt will look, so don't forget to go over there and have a look. So if you've enjoyed this tutorial, give us a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more great tutorials.